to the Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark. Thanks for calling, folks. I don't know why I started with that. It just felt right. I just saw the trailer for Top Gun Maverick, and I just felt very propagandist. I don't know.
That
Thank
was
you.
good.
That was
That was
good.
good.
Auf
Yeah, that was good.
Wiedersehen. We'll talk to you later. That was really good. Hi, folks. Welcome to Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark. I'm your co-host, Mark. This is the wonderful founder, creator, and CEO of Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark. Harry,
Hello. Jeez.
we are one idiot who does a lot of listening and
Mm-hmm.
another who does all the talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll let you guess which one is which.
Mm.
Wonderful to be back again. Wonderful to have you folks, all one of you in the nosebleeds, even though there's only one of you. How you doing? We're doing great. Let's start off with our weeks. Harry, how was your week?
My week started busy. After podcast Thursdays, right? So Friday and Saturday were really busy for me. The weekend was all right. And I completely forgot I was called to jury duty.
Oh, folks, we
On
gotta
Monday.
mention real quick. Harry is doing this podcast from county jail
Yeah.
for missing jury duty.
Yep. But yeah. Uh, so Sunday night I was at a friend's house. I haven't seen in a while, in person. Um, and I was like, oh man, I have jury duty. I have to like check, after 5 o'clock to make sure, if I'm called or whatever. And it didn't really say if I was called. Just as like, hey, tomorrow at 11:30, you have to call this number, and that's it. That's
Or you
all.
die.
Yeah, basically. So I was like, okay, for sure. So I have to wait until tomorrow. Got it. And so then the next day comes around, and then I actually had a chiropractor appointment at 11:30. So I completely forgot until we were leaving, and then Olivia's like, "Hey, you got to call that number." And it was like 11:58, and I think the time period was like 11:30 to 12. I was like, "Shit, I got like
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes." So I called, had it on speaker while I was driving home. And they're like, "Oh, you have to report to Richmond Superior Court by 1 p.m." I was like, "Holy shit, okay." um, so like,
So it's like that scene from either Batman Forever or Spider-Man where it's like back alignment or
mm,
justice.
yeah. So
Yeah, I like
I
it.
yeah, I dropped off Livy. I ate food real quick, and then I went to go do jury duty. So when I got there, it was like like 12:55 or something like that. There's a huge line. Apparently, the courthouse is closed between 12 and 1 for lunch, so no one can even be in there. So I had to stand in line, and then we slowly got in. And I don't know if you've ever been through jury duty. Have you, Mark?
The only time I'm anywhere near the courts is when I'm running documents for my law firm.
Okay. So you've never
So I'm on the
actually
opposite end.
so you've never actually been through the whole process of jury duty.
No, and I vote.
Yeah, okay. So I'll say this, like I didn't want to do it, right? I just not my thing. But I'm also kind of glad I got to experience it. And I'll obviously be explaining why. So I went through, right? We go in, I have to, through the metal detector bullshit. So I have to take all my shit, um, you know, and then, boom, go through the metal detector, nothing, go,
Oh
show.
man, I always fucking carry a knife too. You have no idea.
So I actually smartly knew, I was like, they're probably gonna make me go through a fucking metal detector. So I left my knife in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a note for
Smart man.
people who haven't gone to jury duty and don't know. You should probably keep your knives in your car. Um,
Yeah,
so I go in,
yeah.
yeah, and then they kind of just they like keep lined up behind people, right? I'm walking behind them, walking, and then basically you have to go clock in, not clock in, just basically say like, hey, I came, right, to let
Yeah.
the system know that, you know, uh their pawn came in and is doing what they're supposed to. So I
Hmm.
did my thing. I said, "This is my badge number," and then I sat down and I was sitting there until everyone did their thing. And then the first things they go through is basically this lady. Well, at that then presumably lady was like, uh, you know, basically there's like specific people who can't even do jury duty, right? If you're not an American citizen, if you're a current law enforcement officer, if you are, you know, doing parole, um, some other couple things, but it's just, you know, the obvious like, hey, you can't do jury duty stuff. So they kind of, you know, skim those people out. There's, I think, only one person. Um, and then after that, they kind of go through a lowdown of what's going to happen. And basically, so my whole strategy was I'm going to talk to someone and try to get out of this by today because I really don't want to do this. Um,
So you just said like the most racist, sexist, homophobic thing right then and there, and be
see,
like, "Can
I
I go?"
probably should have, but I didn't. um,
Uh-huh.
but basically, I was like, okay, I'm going to wait my turn. But base, the person explained that if it has nothing to do with like what they talked about or what they said, you have to talk to the judge yourself, you know, and explain to them, you know, that you can't come to jury duty or why you can't be in it, blah blah blah, whatever. And I was like, crap. Okay, so I can't even, you know, there's a couple people who went up to them and were like, hey, you know, this and that, blah blah blah, and they're like, no, you have to talk to the judge. Like, I can't excuse you. Only the judge can. Like, okay, for sure. Um, so I was like, okay, cool. Well, I guess I'm stuck here for a little bit longer. Um, and then at the end of all that, they started calling their jurors, right? Juror number one, like, you know,
Hmm.
they called out the name and they said, you're juror number one, and so forth. So they go all the way through, right? One through basically 45. I was number
Yeah.
42. I was at the bottom of the barrel. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. You know, it is what it is. So then, you know, I'm 42, I'm lined up, and then they tell us to go up to one of the courtrooms. So we go to the courtroom. You know, the first 12 jurors go in first, sit down and when they're supposed to be, and the next, I think, 5 or 6, I believe, go in afterwards. And then
Hmm.
after that, everyone else were, you know, they lined us up, you know, in order, right, all the way through. I'm like, okay, sure. So I was towards the obviously the end of the line, and so, you know, I sit down and we kind of just sit there, and they start explaining things to us, like, you know, I think one of the first things that the judges says, they make the, I believe the term is prosecutor, um, the defendant, and what is the defendant's lawyer called? I don't know if there's a specific term for it, but
So the plaintiff, well, no, I believe that's a civil case. It sounds like then. So you have the plaintiff and the defendant, and then they're just
so
attorneys in that
so basically
case.
when they so there's a defendant, right? And then they have a lawyer, and then on the other side there is a person who said the people. Like they would refer as the people.
Oh,
So I think it was
okay.
like a
That could be a That might not be a civil case. I have no idea.
yeah,
I'm
I think they
beginning.
specifically said that it's not a civil case.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Shows you how smart I am.
so they make them
Fuck.
stand up, right? And they say, "Does anybody here know anybody? You know, that are you? Do you know the people in the in the front? You know?" And then one person said, "Yeah, I think I went to high school with one of them. I don't know." And so that person got excused like immediately. And I was like, "Damn it! I should have lied and been like, oh, yep, I partied with that dude before. I don't know." Just trying to think of ways that I can get out of it. Um, So I'm just sitting there, right, waiting, and I can't really do anything because they're doing this whole process. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I couldn't really think of a legitimate reason why I couldn't do jury duty, right? I was just like I can say I could say like, hey, I'm a racist. I can't be here or something, but I'm like, I really don't want that image, like I can joke around about it, but like going to a court and telling a judge that I'm racist doesn't really sit well with me. Um,
No, I
so
can't imagine it sitting well
yeah,
with most people.
right. So like even
Just do your normal Harry thing. I have to shit.
yeah, I probably should have done that. But then so basically so they gave you a pamphlet. Hey Liv, do you remember where that sheet is with all the questions? But I kept it for the podcast. Oh, there it is. Look at Livy on it. Let me read you the
On it.
questions. So
Thanks, Liv.
There's 9 questions. Ah, here we go. It says misdemeanor jury trials. So it's a misdemeanor.
Okay.
So the first question is, what is your name, preferred prefix, and occupation? If you are now retired or unemployed, what was your last occupation? So basically, they went through they went to from juror number 1 all the way to juror number 30, asking these
Mm-hmm.
9 questions. Okay, so number 2 is, what community do you live in and how long have you lived there? Number 3 is, who are the adult members of your household and what are their occupations? Number 4, have you, family members, or close friends ever been arrested or charged with a crime? Number 5, have you ever served on the jury? If yes, do not tell us what the verdict was, but please tell us A, what type of case, B, where and when, and C, whether the jury reached a verdict. Number 6, have you, your family members, or close friends ever been the victim of a crime? Number 7, have you, your family members, or close friends ever been employed by a law enforcement agency? 8, have you ever had an unpleasant experience with a law enforcement officer? 9, is there
Mm-hmm.
anything else you wish to discuss that could affect your ability to be fair? So those are the 9 questions, right? And basically every juror had to go through that. So the first, so on the day one, let's just say day one, they went through jurors 1 through 25.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't even get to me, nowhere near me. Um, and then after 25, they're like, okay, so we're gonna stop for today. Come back tomorrow, and we'll continue this. I was like, son of a bitch, fuck. It's
Yeah,
like,
fuck you, Harry.
yeah. So like, obviously, like I thought I was gonna get out of it. I was so sure. I'm like, dude, I don't
You
need
were
to.
almost there. You were almost there.
Like,
Not really,
I,
but you were there.
yeah, yeah. Like I was like, I don't need to tell my boss, right? Like, cause I got the jury duty slip, and I was like, I don't need to let him know. I'm gonna get out of it somehow. It's fine. I was wrong, so I like called my boss. I said, hey, bad news. I thought I can get out of it, but jury duty. I have to come back tomorrow at
They just
uh
pulled you back in.
yeah, at 9 o'clock. He's like, son of a bitch. I was like, yeah. So next thing, um so I come back the next day, right? And then they finish off jurors 26 to 30. Same questions, right? Boom, boom, boom. So on the first day and the beginning of the second day, um it, like I really see like I question the people who end up being in the jury box. Is that what it's called? No. What?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, who end up being the jurors for the case.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just so after every question, like let's say for example, you do say yes, me or a family member, whatever, have been a victim of a crime or have been arrested or whatever, right? The judge just straight up asks you, in your experience, will it prevent you from having or giving a fair trial in this case? Plain and simple, right? Like, like, are you gonna like, you know what I mean? Like, would you be able to put that off to the side so you can give a fair
Yeah.
trial? It just seems like most people didn't understand that.
Hmm.
A lot of people's answer was, I don't know. It depends on the situation. And the judge, like, I didn't know how to word it any other way. And I kind of felt for the judge. I'm like, it's a pretty simple like answer to, or pretty simple question to answer. It's like, yeah, can you like be neutral about what's what's happened to you, outside of this trial, and just focus on the trial, and give this person who's in the courtroom right now a fair trial. So like,
Mm-hmm.
don't like see him as a criminal or see him as an
Yeah.
innocent person and be like, because I
Innocent until
saw
proven guilty.
exactly, like, we want you to look at the evidence and basically say if he broke the law or not.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it just seemed like a lot of people didn't understand that. They just kept saying like, "Oh, well, it depends." Like, like I understand, and I think later on they kind of explain like, can you put your emotions to the side, and I think that's the problem that people were like, one of the persons was saying that like they're saying, "Oh, I'm very passionate about what I believe in, and I won't let people make me like force me to think a certain way." And the judge was like, we're like, no one's gonna make you think a certain way. We want you to be you, so you can give this person a fair trial. But can you give this person a fair trial?" And they're like, "Well, it depends on the situation." I'm like, I don't know. There's a lot of that, and I don't know why it just like I couldn't. I'm not saying I'm smarter than people, but like I just like how like I don't know. Like it's pretty straightforward of what they're asking of you, and just, it seems like people weren't able to kind of grasp the idea. And then so now that the judge has asked those 9 questions, right? I think they go into more detail of like the case, right? I don't
Yeah.
even know if I can talk about it, but whatever. I'm not in the case anymore. And, it was more about gun, like owning guns and uh guns, just specific to guns. So I'm guessing the case was based around some sort of gun thing, right? It's a misdemeanor, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing. And it was,
It's a midsummer.
yeah, it was pretty. Those were kind of quicker, They had to go through the first. So after they questioned the first 30, the judge was saying like, yeah, the last bit of you guys after 30, you guys just sit there and we're gonna question the first 30 for other stuff, and if we need you guys, we'll keep questioning. So I'm like, okay, so I just have to sit on my ass till you guys decide to let me go. It's basically what happened.
That sounds about
um
right.
yeah. So then after the judge was done questioning, and obviously, the the 2 lawyers, right, from both sides were like jotting down notes and stuff. um and what else? So they started
You
actually
got this.
questioning. They started questioning the jurors at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
The lawyer for the people, and then the lawyer for the defendant. Um, and you can tell who they're like. Do I really want this person to be a juror, right, for this case? There's pointing people out specifically, and asking them specific questions. The person who was it? For the people, right? I and like they really, again, like I said, I'm glad I went through it because I learned a lot of how flawed things are in the system. Um, and So the way he explained is like, obviously he's like, the person sitting here is innocent. What we're trying to do is make sure that he did not break the law, is what he was
Mm-hmm.
saying, right? Or that he did break the law. We want to
Yeah.
have a fair
The
trial.
idea is that, yeah, the concept of innocent until proven guilty is something that's kind of overlooked, where it's like you are assuming
Yeah.
that until evidence is provided beyond reasonable doubt that this person has committed the actual crime,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then they're innocent.
Exactly. So
That's the thing.
so to me, it made perfect sense. Like I was like, yeah, totally. Like I understand what you're talking
You know what,
about.
Harry?
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of this. You're just saying that because you knew for a fact it would get you out of fucking out of. No, wait, that doesn't make any sense. God damn it! I don't make sense. You should have said no, and then you would have gotten out perfectly fine. You're sitting there debating the moral of the question, and you're like, "Oh no, yeah, I can." And then, congratulations, Harry, you're gonna be doing a trial for 3 months.
Okay, so the thing is, I never got questioned. I never got to answer any of the questions.
Good.
Yeah. So, but me hearing the lawyers talk, I was like, okay, I get what they're asking. It seems pretty straightforward. Don't put your emotions and your past, involved in this, case, because this is this case, not any other case, you know. So I got it. But it was interesting that the defendant's lawyer made a comparison and it was very dumbed down, and it seemed like people still didn't understand it. So there's two comparisons he made, right? He said, I'm all right, this is obviously, me just trying to remember how he explained it, but so he says, so everyone knows what's inside of a peanut butter jelly sandwich, right? Bread, peanut butter, jelly. Boom. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? Now, let's say the government goes fucking crazy and bans peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And this person admits, yeah, I put bread, peanut butter, and jelly. I did that, right? So you're going thinking, dude, that person, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, hands down, criminal,
Lock him away,
guilty.
officer.
Lock him away. But at the end of the trial, because he was explaining that you don't know the actual law, or the law doesn't get told to you towards the end of the trial.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, and when the law is being said to you, the law states you cannot have bread, peanut butter, jelly, and banana slices. That's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So you got to look at, did this person break the law? I mean, the answer is no, because his peanut butter and jelly sandwich didn't have banana slices. The law states you can't put that plus banana slices in it. But if it doesn't have banana slices, technically you didn't break the law.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he was trying to go with. And there's a few people who just like, wait a minute, so where do the banana slices come from? Like, what? No joke. No joke. It was like that. Like, she's like,
Well,
okay,
hold on. To be fair, and I'm part of that group,
mm-hmm.
I need the card explained to me.
Mm-hmm. Fair
Because
enough.
sometimes the literal nature of what something specifies is easily overlooked. Like the literal nature of it.
Yeah.
And
I guess
that's where the leeway is.
yeah. And I guess it was a good explanation to kind of, because I mean, going back and like seeing everything, I'm like, wow, like the lawyers knew how to do what they needed to do. Like they have that position for a fucking reason, right? Like he was basically weeding out the people that basically was like, no, that's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. He broke the law, even though the law states that it needs banana slices in it. I still say he broke the law, so I'm gonna prove him guilty, right? And that's the kind of people that he didn't want in his juror box, which is smart. I'm like, that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense that you put that in there because a couple of the people, I remember one person in particular was saying that they're like, because he was trying to say like, I mean, like you have to look at the law and then what the person did, and you have to compare them and say, did this person actually break the law, or not, right? And the person was like, well, I don't know, like, it depends on the situation, like, if basically all that, right? Like they're kind of putting more emotion and their own opinion into the case, because the situation is, if you believe that's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, even though by law it's not, you still find the person guilty because to you personally, they broke the law. So that's who that the defendant's lawyer was weeding out. It was a great example, and I was like, wow, that's fucking top notch. Like, I mean, this is why I'm not a lawyer, right? And the next example he gave out was basically what was he saying? Oh, Tom and Jerry, right? He says, everyone knows Tom and Jerry, correct? Yeah? Okay. And he's like, all right, so let's say Tom and Jerry were doing their thing at your house and you're just pissed. You're like, fuck this. So you grab Tom and Jerry, throw them in a box, and, just leave them in there and throw them in the corner, for like a couple hours. And you're like, okay, that's enough, having them like, punishing them and shit. So you lift the box up and you notice Tom's there, Jerry's not. Jerry's gone. You can't find him, right? Your first thought is Tom ate him, right? Of course, that's your first thought. But then you notice that there's a hole in the box. So then you start thinking, well, maybe Jerry got away. But you don't know. But your first instinct is always Tom ate the mouse and he's guilty, right? It's like he was giving those examples and people were like, well, yeah, I mean, you kind of, it's just the examples he was putting out there were kind of like dumbed down so people can understand them, but it still kind of seemed like
it was just the basic stuff to get people
Yeah.
into the idea of one, I believe it's called inferred reasoning. Like you're naturally going to want to put 2 and 2 together in a specific way if you see those things. It's just something you naturally do as a person. The idea is like spotting that and challenging.
Yeah. And then, so after all that, right, they go to the back, they come out, and then the judge is obviously straightforward. He says, look, if you get excused, it's not because you as a person, we just don't feel you're fit for being the juror for this case. And so I was like, okay, I think by this time, for the amount of people that got excused, there might have been like maybe 25 people, right? And they're starting to excuse people, right? Like, he'd be like, hey, the people, do they pass? And he'd be like, oh, I pass. And then the other lawyer would be like, oh, we want to excuse juror number 13 or whatever. And they kept doing that, right? They kept doing it. And I was kind of scared because I was like, all right, I'm kind of done with this. I just want to go home. Can they get their people so we can just leave? Because at this point, I'm just like, if they have enough people to end, so they don't have to fucking question the rest of us, I'll be down. But they're excusing a lot of people. And a lot of like people that I thought would have stayed because they like had solid, like they answered pretty. They saw, to me, either they didn't answer a lot of questions, or they weren't asked a lot of questions, right? They're just asked basic questions, and then the people who like were asked a lot of questions seemed to go, but in the mid range, they kept. There's some people that they kept that I questioned, like, why did they keep this person in there? Like this person, to me, like, I don't think this person really understands, or like might put too much emotion into the case, right? But they seem to be keeping them. But to me being selfish, I was like, keep as many people as possible because god damn it, I don't want to go through that because there's another 15 of us that you're gonna have to fucking question, and I really don't want to be questioned right now. I was just like, it was towards the afternoon, and I was like, I don't want to come back tomorrow. I don't want to deal with this. Just do what you got to do and let me go. And so we excuse this juror. We excuse this juror. They went from like having the top like like 15, and then we're cutting out people like in the 20s already. And I was like, fuck, like dude, they're probably gonna excuse enough people that I'm gonna have to fucking come back tomorrow. Luckily, they ended it with like the full 12 jurors plus 2 extras out of the original 30.
They got you.
And so they're like, okay, that's it. Like the rest of you can leave. Your excuse. Like, oh, thank God. Oh my God. Like, dude, I walked out of that fucking courthouse smiling. I was like, I don't have to come back.
You know what you should have fucking done just for our entertainment, just for this? You should have just illegally recorded the entire thing.
Oh, fuck, man.
That would have been footage and content right
yeah,
then and
you're
there.
Right.
I wonder if it's a felony or like a misdemeanor.
Most likely it is. Hey, there were signs everywhere that says you cannot be on your phone and shit like that.
No. To like engage in conspiracy too, even if it's
Oh.
joking. Like, you know how
Ah.
so if I tell you like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if like you totally just hacked your boss into a million pieces like with a hatchet that you bought from Lowe's and
Uh-huh.
then threw the body in like the Martinez Bay?
Yeah.
And I am intentionally joking with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you do that verbatim. You go to Lowe's, you buy a hatchet, you chop your boss
Hey,
up into a
I'd get a
million
discount
pieces.
from Demetrius.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. So if I somehow acknowledge that I said those things, I could actually be an accomplice to murder given how like
Ah.
straightforward to what you did versus what I said jokingly
Yeah.
would happen or should happen.
Right. Right.
Demetrius wouldn't be, but I
Right. No.
would. But yeah,
Very
so,
true. Very
you know,
true.
say you're going to record it, you know, accessory to commit conspiracy to do something something.
Something.
Damn,
Something.
Harry, you could have decided the fate of guns for all we know, or
Maybe.
police guns, or
Maybe.
gun police.
Police made out of guns.
Yeah, RoboCop.
There we go.
It's the
Um.
ultimate trans metaphor.
But yeah, jury duty, man. Again, so like I said, in the beginning, I'm glad I went through it so I can see both sides.
Hmm.
Of like how like flawed the system is in the sense of, so what I got out of that, I to me is like, if you're gonna have jurors, most of them aren't gonna know what the fuck's happening. And I feel like
Yeah.
most of them will be doing what they will be doing is putting their emotion and their own opinion into their decision,
Hmm.
right? Or be easily manipulated by something, right? Like if you don't
To
really
be fair, the concept of disentangling that or or just straight up like having the wherewithal to identify that isn't always the case though. I'm
Mm,
not trying to cover any ground that we're not talking. I just mean like
mm,
when I would know for a fact that like I would need that crash course if I were to do
the jury
that
duty.
jury thingy, that
Yeah,
thing jury.
yeah. I
And
just feel like,
I unless I was trained to, I don't think I would be able to perfectly disentangle my emotions.
yeah.
Because to be fair, at the firm where I work, half of the cases that I hear about
Mm-hmm.
sound immensely one-sided. Um,
Mm,
so I almost want to talk about one, but again, that I don't think I can.
right,
But
right.
because I actually can't, because it's still an ongoing case. But
Makes
like,
sense.
this is a clear-cut issue of someone is suing someone else because a relative of them used their company's identity
Mm,
without any licensing to make money. And someone under that business that wasn't licensed, that isn't a business,
yeah.
um, was extremely injured. And I'm
Oh.
talking like life alteringly injured. And the person who owned the legitimate licensed company was at fault.
Uh.
So that's the shitty part, is that the person who did the obvious shit thing
Yeah.
is obviously wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's not just that. The person who was injured got sued. The person who had the injury on their property is suing. The person who owns the business is suing this person. This person is suing the other person back. You have a multitude of different cases, stuff that you have to untangle that
Uh.
that are just all over the place. And like I think the guy who's getting sued is completely in the right. And I
right?
think the guy who's doing the suing is completely in the wrong,
Mm-hmm.
which is the weirdest. I'm not the weirdest thing, but no, going how the case sounds like it's going, it sounds like it's going well in our favor, but that's not always the case, and that's a civil instance too, where it's less cut and dry. You don't have the state, the people versus an individual. You have a one-on-one instance.
Fair enough. But like, yeah. So I understand that. I just feel like, again, like I feel like the jury, like I know they want to. I guess I need to learn more about why they do it the way they do it now. I just feel like
Hmm.
there are people who feel like shouldn't be jurors. Um, I know the whole process is a way to um, comb out the people who probably really bad, who are very emotional towards certain things, or put their opinions before anything else. And they did, like
Hmm.
a lot of people who did express their opinions did basically get excused. Like, yeah, no, we don't want you here. Um, but the other thing for me is the technicalities, right? What
Right.
what that juror said about the peanut butter jelly sandwich, right? He says, yeah, he made a peanut butter jelly sandwich, but the law states peanut butter and jelly sandwiches has banana slices in it, right?
Right.
It's just like it's that where I'm like I already knew like the law system was a little flawed because it's all these technicalities and shit, like the way the rich become richer because of taxes and all this shit. It's like there's fucking loopholes everywhere, and it's kind of
Hmm.
bullshit and shit. And that's like that was gonna be one of my things that I was gonna tell the judge, that like I believe the justice system's flawed. That I don't think I don't think I can be a part of the jury because I don't I think there's messed up things everywhere. So I don't think I can give a fair trial that way. But which I still feel the same. Like it kind of um gave me a more concrete feeling towards that, because that lawyer's not wrong. And he's not
Hmm.
wrong to tell the jury that, right? Don't don't put your opinions into what a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is. You have to look at what the law states what a peanut butter jelly sandwich is, and if that person actually made a peanut butter jelly sandwich. And that's where I'm
Yeah.
like the thing is, don't get me wrong,
I
I
there's
could do that. I could, like,
Yeah.
I'm one of the few people probably that can easily go into a courtroom like that, be a juror, and have no emotion, no opinion about the state, and see what the law is and see if that person broke it or not. I can
Hmm.
do that job probably better than most people. I just don't want to do it, right? But
Yeah, no, I get you.
yeah.
What from what you and I have been discussing, it's very clear that the law lacks a degree of nuance. I mean,
Mhm.
there have been two Supreme Court cases today, I think, or within the last couple days that have dealt with like almost quite literal um opinions.
Mm.
Uh like 6-3 Republican favored or conservative favored opinions where it's like yeah, no, we found the results of this how do they go about it? Doesn't matter. Essentially they went about and said, yeah, that we interpreted this in a literal way.
Mm.
um so it's interesting that on the highest court of the land you still have literal interpretations of the law.
Yeah.
And you even have someone like Amy Coney Barrett, who is not a literalist, but God, what is the term? She essentially wants to interpret the law when it was written
Right.
and apply it to a modern framework, and that doesn't make sense to me either. So yes, that does seem kind of fucky. I honestly don't know anything about the law myself, so
Mhm. Yeah, and I think I don't know. Like just going through it. This is my first time going right. I've been called into it, or I've had the slip a few times, but they've never actually called me in. This is the first time they've actually called me in. Um,
Hmm.
and so I don't know. Like I feel like there should be certain people that should be. I see. That's the thing. Like you would think like there should be people who are professional jurors, right? But
Hmm.
what's to say that person couldn't get like paid off for things, right? Or I guess you would have like a full stack of professional jurors and then kind of like do this process, but like maybe quicker, or I don't know. See, again, I don't follow this at all, but it's just like, it
Hmm.
just seems like there's a lot of people that end up going there that just don't belong there, right?
You don't
Um,
want to put in the effort.
well, don't put in the effort, but also that just like, um, that just like there's two people who just didn't speak English, right?
Hmm.
And but that doesn't really mean anything because it's like they can easily learn English next year, right? And could
Right.
become jurors. So that's I don't think it's. But I'm just saying like it's like an example in the sense of like there are certain people that probably shouldn't even be doing like it's a waste of that person's time because you don't get paid for that first day. You just got to show
It's
up.
your civic duty, Harry.
Exactly. Yeah,
Your
and that's
payment is your duty.
which
You didn't hear Jon Snow complain about being stuck on a frozen fucking wall about getting paid. You know
well,
what he
that was his
said?
choice.
Time and time again? It's his duty.
Yeah, but
Would
it
it
was
make you feel better if during the jury selection they just were like, "You are the shield that guards the realms of men"? Just recite that.
I don't think that would make me feel better.
Yeah, you know it fucking wouldn't it?
No, because I'd be like, how the fuck did I get involved in this shit?
You stand in the way of true justice. Uh,
But again,
I
I don't know.
see.
I think what you just said was a good point, right? It's your civic duty, and that's something actually the judge said. Like, it's our civic duty to do this, right? Like, it's us,
Yeah.
and I get it, right? I 100% get it, and I get like to try to get a neutral point from multiple backgrounds, right? So it's not just coming from people who are professional jurors, right? It's like, what's to say a professional juror just snaps and gets opinions and or like really can't, put their emotions aside for something, right? Like, what if the
Hmm.
juror knows the person, or knows the officer who's involved, or you know what I mean? Whatever be the case, right? It's
I
like,
mean, that would be an instance where you would dismiss that person, though.
yeah, like I just feel
Because I
like
mean, the more more I talk about this, the more stupid I feel, just for not like really understanding myself. But like, I do feel like there are some safeguards in place. Like, I don't,
mhm,
from what
mhm.
you're describing, it doesn't sound like a perfect system, but it does seem like there are.
There,
If they're going to ask you about stuff like, oh, what kind of uh Jesus, what kind of conflicts of interest do you have? I would
yeah,
imagine that would be one of them, right?
yeah, it is, and I totally get that, right? Uh, and there again, you're right. There are some safeguards in place that do prevent stuff like that from happening, and it's just there's I don't know, like I'm sure not like there's a handful of jurors up there that didn't really speak a lot, so I couldn't really like I didn't really know how they felt about things because they didn't really ask them questions. They're just really straightforward, right? Like
Yeah.
if that list of 9, you don't really list a lot. Like don't say yes to a lot of things. They don't really go back to you because it's like, okay, so you haven't done anything. Like,
Hmm.
but the thing also with that is like they don't really ask your opinion on things, right? like 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 the last question, like what's good, is there something that will make you like not have like a fair trial? Like you can easily say no. Like, yeah, no, I don't think so, right? But like,
Hmm.
and like the specific questions they asked, like, and the lawyers only went after the people that basically kind of went off the rails, right? Like, kind of said,
Hmm.
oh, I think this way, I think that way. Oh, one of the questions, and it was the defendant's lawyer. I'm guessing domestic abuse was part of it, or domestic something was involved, right? And so it was literally the first question I just remember right now, where he kind of pointed it out in two people. He was saying, like, uh, fuck, I gotta remember the question. He said, "Do you believe that a woman shouldn't be hit, no matter what? No matter what the reason being, a man should not hit a woman, right?" That was the thing, and like he asked like a couple of people, and immediately like everyone said no, like yeah, like oh, man should not hit a woman, right? And I think a lot of the first 25 jurors raised their hands,
Hmm.
or the first 30. A lot of them raised their hands. Like I think 70+% of them, maybe more. I think all of them at this, like now that I'm kind of thinking about it, said no, right? But then he turned it around and said, okay, well, let's change the scenario, right? Like, because he did specify no matter what the reason is, and the majority of them raised their hands. Um, but he changed the scenario. What if the woman has a gun? Like, what if the woman is attacking the man? Can the
Hmm.
man lay a hand on the woman at that point? And that's when they're kind of like, oh, well, I mean, I guess, like, depends on the situation, but, it's like, and that's where I kind of go, and I'm like to me, my first instinct would be like, well, what's the reason, right? Like,
Hmm.
like, like there, if a man is hitting, like, putting hands on a woman, there has to be a reason, right? What is it? Because there could be a really good reason why a man
Yeah.
would hit a
So
woman,
context seems to matter there.
right? But like the first instinct that everyone had was like, yeah, a man shouldn't hit a woman. But it's
Hmm.
like, and I think that's where obviously again the lawyer being really smart, changing it up and being like, well, what if like the woman, had a weapon, you know, is that okay at that point? What if the man is did it in self defense because he was being
Right.
attacked, right? So stuff like that. So I was like, he was doing his job well. The lawyers are pretty fucking good at their jobs. Um, but it's just stuff that I saw that like the majority of the people raised their hands, like they put their emotions, their own opinion into you know, into that scenario, right? And then I don't know. It's just like I guess maybe if like it's during the during the trial and you kind of see evidence and stuff like that, like maybe you can do a fair decision,
Uh huh.
but it's just I don't know. I just feel like there's certain people that were in that jury that I was like, that person made it in. I mean, overall, I was happy because I got the fuck that out of there, right?
No, no,
But
it sounds like you wanted to be in it. We could
not
put you back
no,
in.
no. I'm okay without. It's just I don't know. Like that's why I think like the system is flawed, right? Like I see the people who became jurors, and I was like, system's a little flawed. Like it's just the thing for me is that it's a little scary to know that there, like if there's a situation like I'm gonna be put in jail for a long time for something that I didn't do, and I'm relying on a jury, I'm not gonna be very hopeful, right?
Hmm.
Because I'm like, I don't know who these people are. They can do the whole Tom and Jerry thing and think, yep, he's guilty. Look at him. It's like, what the, you know what I mean? Like, the, I
What's even
understand.
more frustrating is like,
Mm,
uh, if I could move away for just a moment.
yeah, go for it.
Imagine you're a police officer,
Mm,
uh, who has like one a social reputation to like get a
mm,
conviction from someone,
Yeah.
and to fucking find the most probable, like, perpetrator. And you see Tom, and he's in the box. You see the hole, and you take Tom in, and he just blabs. He's like, I didn't do any of it. I didn't do it. He crawled out of the box. Da 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 da. You give them all this information, and they testify against you and flip everything on its fucking heel. They take
Mm.
every fucking bit of what you said, and they use it against you.
Yeah.
And then how you were talking about how lawyers, how they're really fucking good too. It's like
Yep.
you bring that guy up and you interview or you examine him, and all the information that you used to say like, hey, this exonerates me. This does this. You don't have Jerry. We don't know where he is, but like you have like the knowledge that the hole was crossed in here. There's nothing in my system. Like that I couldn't have done it, and they still use something like that against you.
Yeah. That's yeah. All that basically is put into like me, where I say that the justice system's a little flawed, right? Like lawyers get paid more if they win, right?
Yeah.
Even if they know, like, there's been plenty of times where defendants lawyers know that they're guilty, but because they want to win the case, they try to prove them innocent, right?
Mm.
It's happened. There's stories out there that's true, and it's like it's kind of fucked, right? It's
Yeah.
and like, don't get me wrong, it's I understand the whole innocent until proven guilty, but it's like it's kind of messed up that if you know the person's guilty, you're still defending them because you want to win, right? You want to win the case, and you want to get probably extra cash, but just win a case. Just say, hey, yeah, I was able to do it. I was able to prove this person innocent. It's like now this person is out. They didn't get put
Mm.
away, and I mean that I already had that feeling, right? I already had that before going to jury duty, but it's like now it's just like I'm looking at the flip side. What if the person is innocent, and for some reason the jury just says, oh, you know what, you're guilty. You know what I mean? Like, how many times does that happen?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, damn, that fucking sucks. Like, that's why I said going in, I saw both sides, right? Like, the lawyer side and the judge side. Like, I know the judge is mainly just there to maintain order in the court, right? Um, but it's still kind of like everything is just I saw the crackles, right? I saw where the flaws were, and I'm like, how can someone like? I understand why people don't want to deal with like getting in trouble and shit. It's like, how do you trust anybody in that courtroom? You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
even if you know you're innocent, people are trying to prove you guilty, and people already assume you're guilty. It's like the whole the whole situation where, like, if a female says, oh, this guy raped me, blah blah blah, this and that, but it's like you're like, no, I didn't. Like, that's not at all what happened. But then, you know what I mean? Like, it goes around, and it's like now that person's image is all like messed up because of what they
I mean,
said, right?
to be fair, like
Mm.
I don't think there are many like false rape allegations.
Yeah, I
I
agree,
mean,
but I'm just.
I get that there's the one of the prospective football player. He was going to get into university,
Mhm.
and the woman said something, and it ruined his career and it ruined his chances. He got out and he was exonerated. But I mean, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah,
And it's
it's
another
very
thing
rare.
to like, yeah, it's another thing to worry about, like, oh, this guy's reputation, when it's another thing to like, well, what about the fact that like most of the time these allegations are kind of just thrown out.
Yeah, like it's the whole um, like if someone makes an allegation on someone, and let's say that person's innocent, right? They're just saying, oh, this person raped me, and they're kind of like people automatically will make their opinions. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
like whether you're innocent or guilty, they'll make their own decision on it. Like it's a thing that happens, that's been happening for a while now in our society, but it's just not a lot of people um can do the whole innocent until proven guilty.
Mm.
And I see that in social media and everything, you know, in the news and stuff like that. So it's like, see, going to jury duty and seeing that, like, the defendant, even the other lawyer, right, for the people,
Mm.
he had a hard time to had to explain
I
this
believe in
person's
that case it's
innocent.
the prosecutor.
Prosecutor, okay, the prosecutor was saying this person is innocent until proven guilty. Like, they had to specify that multiple times, because I think they're right in that, where people look at something and say, I believe this person's guilty. Just look at him. They look at the
Mm-hmm.
situation. He has to be guilty. Like, without actually seeing all the evidence, or, you know what I mean, or all the witnesses or whatever. Like, it's like, no, like, you know what I mean, like, and they're guilty, right? They're already making their decision. Like, obviously, you know, their thing is just wait and see all the evidence first and then make your opinion, right? And even there
Mm-hmm.
was a situation where the judge was saying, like, the defendant literally doesn't have to do anything because they're innocent, right, until proven guilty. So the prosecutor could be bringing in witnesses and questioning things and blah blah blah, but the defendant doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to make their case because they're innocent. It's up to them and their lawyer to, if they want to bring in witnesses or question people or whatever. But because this person's innocent completely, like, they're saying, like, if we ended the trial right now at this second, he's innocent, because that's what it is, right? That's the law. You're innocent until proven guilty. You know, we haven't gone through a trial, and, you know, there hasn't been evidence proven or anything like that to prove them guilty. So at this moment, they're innocent.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to people just automatically, like, if they hear a scenario, especially if it's only one side, right? People automatically go to, oh, well, I believe it's this, without seeing both sides, right? And even then, sometimes, even though the other side has good, you know, evidence, they would still choose the other side because of whatever reason, right? Whatever may be the reason, they'll be like, oh, well, you know, I still think you're guilty. Like, okay, like, I don't know. It's just, that's what I kind of got out of the jury situation. Um, People are just very opinionated. Um, Kind of make their decisions too quickly. Um, and the whole system is flawed. Okay, let me take that back. Not the whole system, but there are flaws in the system. How to fix
Mm-hmm.
them, I have no idea, right? That's not my job.
How
That's
do
why
you
I
um
vote.
how do you get a group of people who are as impartial as can be, because you're never going to be
Hmm.
able to get impartial people?
Yeah,
Should you pool from just taxpayers and voters? I mean, should
yeah,
you,
yeah.
where do you get that?
That's hard, right? And that's why
Yeah.
that's why I'm not saying, like, there's a better there may be a better system. I just don't know where it's at. I know our system is flawed. Is there a better version of it? I have no idea, right? I
You
mean,
know what we should do?
hmm,
We should just vaporize everyone who is in a civil case.
okay, that sounds fair.
Just vaporize them. Just, hey, guilty? No, I don't care. There you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
that makes
Hey,
sense. That
guilty?
makes sense.
Probably. Well, there you go.
No, there you go. But again, that's why I vote for my local, you know, officials, because, you know, I believe they can you know, try to figure this out. It's their job,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, it's like, I'm not a politician. I'm not a DA. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not any of that stuff. Like, it's not my job to do anything. If I really wanted to, I probably would have already done it, but I really don't, because I just don't want to do that. It's not my
Mm-hmm.
job. My taxpayer money pays people to do that. And yeah, that. And that's been my week,
Jesus, Harry.
right? But
Jesus
hey,
fucking Christ.
my jury duty story was one of the main topics. Okay, so
This is a fucking hour.
yeah, and hey, remember you said one person talks most of the time, the other person listens.
Can't believe I listened to this bullshit.
Alright.
You know what I should do? I should learn
Huh.
how to do research and then learn how the law works. Not just
Mm,
and then report back and be like, this is how it works de facto, and this is how it works de jure or de jure.
mm. Du
Where
jour.
for de jure it's like, okay, so
Du
da da da
journey.
da da this yeah, this is how it works de giorno. Like the law says that this is what's supposed to happen. This is what rational actors are supposed to do, da da da.
Mm,
And then you get to de facto, like, well, these are how lawyers operate. It's not just about doing this. These are the tactics that they use. These are the things that they've been known to do. Are juries reliable? Are they informed? And stuff like that. I think that'd be really interesting. If only I knew how to research.
if only. God, squeak right
Fuck.
there. Mark, tell me about your
What?
week.
Well, fucking compared to fucking you, I didn't do shit.
Mm. Same old, same
Seriously.
old.
Yeah, same old
That's
fucking.
good. There's nothing wrong with that, man. There's nothing wrong with same old,
Yeah,
same old.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Just stole all the thunder. You're just like, "Oh, hey. Oh, look at me. I'm 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 here to decide the man's fate, and I don't want to. Fuck you. I'm out." And gotta go into a whole discussion about the nature of juries. Are they any good? Da da da. And I'm here just thinking, how the fuck am I gonna top this with my boring ass war fucking week? Huh? Huh?
Mm, mm.
Fuck you. That's how.
Well,
No, my week was fine. Yeah. I've been working
mm,
and then relaxing and working some more. And that's been my week.
it's good. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bastard. Just you just tip the scales. You just put a fat baby on one side and I have a feather on the other.
Mm. All right. Well, let's balance them out. We are switching discussions to, as you call, death of the author.
Oh,
You
now speaking of perspectives.
you have way more to say about this than I do. Uh,
Not too much. I just
not
wanted
too much. Okay.
to speak on it a little bit.
Mm-hmm,
So Harry dropped a tweet onto my dong, onto my lap,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and it had to do with I don't remember the full tweet. I apologize. It
So
essentially had to deal with.
I can read out the tweet. It's from
Okay.
someone I follow, Hutch. This is the tweet. It says the concept of boycotting an entire film because of one actor or actress's involvement seems incredibly silly and pointless to me. For starters, what does it actually accomplish? And how does it make sense to do that when hundreds of sometimes thousands of people work on a film?
Fair enough.
So, yeah.
Fair enough.
Mm.
I do believe that there's a lot of value to what he said. Or what they said. I do believe that there are times when I think they are right, and I think there are times when I think that there are times when they can be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Film is a very interesting avenue to discuss this about, because not one individual is responsible for the entirety of the work.
Mm-hmm.
For novels, it's a lot different. There's usually one person writing. It's from their worldview, even if they're writing from different viewpoints of different characters with other viewpoints. You typically get an idea of what they're writing about, what their kind of what their fears or their anxieties are. With film, it's
Mm-hmm.
a little different. You can convey a lot with one person. One person typically directs what is going to be on the screen.
Yeah.
When I was bitching a couple weeks ago about Satanic Panic, I'm fairly certain that wasn't a one person decision to like vilify Satanists and to like straw man them into like actual demonic people in the 80s and all that kind of stuff, right? Um, but it's not always so clear cut and dry. Uh, I do think he lends a lot of credence to the idea that a movie is not a work of art from one person, and in this case, I would agree with that, and I think there's some validity to watching a movie that might have uh, a problematic person either behind the helm or on the screen. Just because that person is there, you can disavow that person possibly and still enjoy the movie. I think Baby Driver is a perfect example. Kevin Spacey has been embroiled
Mm-hmm.
in a long legal battle with people that he is sexually assaulted. Um, and he's in Baby Driver. I think Baby Driver was one of the greatest movies of its year. It was enjoyable. It wasn't a franchise movie, well written, well paced, well directed, and a sex offender like Kevin Spacey's in it. I'll give you one even better. The Usual Suspects is one of the greatest movies of the fucking 90s, and it has two problematic people in it, both writing and directing. Bryan Singer, Kevin
Mm-hmm.
Spacey as the main actor, and I still think it's a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
But I don't think there is a point where it can become a problem.
Okay.
So let me backtrack a little bit. I'm going to get to the point called death of the author. I'm going to butcher and mischaracterize a lot of it, but the idea, the essential component of it is can you enjoy something that features a controversial person? And I don't mean controversial like, I'm going to eat a million hot dogs, or I'm sleeping with a billion people, or I'm sleeping with a billion people while eating all these hot dogs. I'm talking like, the people that we deal with now.
Okay.
Um, and I want to go back to a specific character. I haven't read much about him. I know of him. I know a lot of his work. And for the longest time, I actually really enjoyed this person.
Mm.
Um, the person I'm talking about, I'm not going to blue ball, is Elia Kazan.
Mm.
Elia Kazan was a filmmaker and writer in the 1950s. Okay,
Okay.
he is the role model of Martin Scorsese. He helped people like Jack Nicholson, Robert De Niro, and Marlon Brando cultivate a modern acting style.
Okay.
Uh, Essentially, the difference between the oh hey how you doing, oh it's the 1940s, to hey how you doing, it's the 1950s.
Mm.
That kind of transatlantic acting style with that kind of look and feel. He modernized the idea of the method actor. I
Okay.
don't really want to get into that all that much, but Kazan, Kazan. I say this avenue of who he is because he did a lot of great work for the film industry. He did a lot of great work propping up and cultivating some very great actors and some great filmmakers. He's a okay writer, and he's a pretty solid director too. You might know that I have a big problem with like real, and I'm not talking orange person bad kind of witch hunts, but I really don't
Right.
like witch hunts.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why the second half of this is going to be a little alarming.
Oh.
In the late 40s and 50s, there was an event which has ruined a lot of people's lives called the Blacklist. Well, it's not an event. It was kind of a phenomena or whatever. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
In the 50s, a senator called Joe McCarthy investigated people. He had his own division, the House Un-American Activities, where he had pretty much carte blanche to call out whoever he wanted as being a communist.
Mm-hmm.
He had this notion, which might parallel what a lot of people think now, that communists had invaded every facet of American life. Politics, the military, which is what ended up ruining him when he went up against the military, art, science, and we're getting their film.
Mm.
You had people like you had significant figures who would be called to testify and do something called name names. You would, if you were called into one of these Senate on American Activities committees, Senate Committee on American Activities committees, you would name names, or you would be pressured to name names. Otherwise, you'd be blacklisted.
Hmm.
You'd be blacklisted for being a communist, or you would be blacklisted for not naming communists or people suspected of being communists. People who were named, their lives were ruined.
Right.
There are very few people who came back from being named at these committees. And Ilya Kazan named nearly a dozen people. He named friends, he named pretty much close to family people. He started an acting troupe or an acting performance or whatever in the 1930s and 40s, and he named half the people that he started this group with. Some of them died in what was the term? Died in penniless, or they died destitute. He named names. He gladly named names, and he defended that till his dying breath. And he is the man popular for raising Marlon Brando's career.
Huh.
A Streetcar Named Desire, I believe, was Marlon Brando's breakout performance. He did, and I'll get to this eventually, because I think this squares into Death of the Author, because he was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award in the early 2000s, and I remember this. My father told me about this when we both watched it, because I didn't understand. But there were a bunch of people that got up and applauded him. There were people who sat down and applauded him, and there were a significant amount of people who did not applaud him.
Oh.
And you think to yourself, well, why did the people sit down? You know, he had a tremendously well, let me get rid of tremendously. He had an impactful career in film. Great films, great actors under his name. Martin Scorsese called him out himself to congratulate him and thank him for being his inspiration. Why were they sitting? He had nothing. The man should be different from what he makes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What about the people who sat but clapped? I mean, they can admit maybe that the work can be disentangled from the artist. What about the people who did clap, that it shouldn't matter at all?
Right.
That's the question of Death of the Author. And I'm sure it's more than just those three, but can you completely disentangle the artist from the author and the things that they do? Because one of the pieces that I didn't mention is that Elia Kazan was good friends with Arthur Miller. And I'll get into all that in just a moment for anyone who doesn't know. Elia Kazan and Arthur Miller were writing the film adaptation of On the Waterfront. On the Waterfront is a movie that essentially glorifies the informant. it's another Marlon Brando movie. He plays a dock worker who uh, testifies against a union boss who is in cahoots with a mob boss. And at the end of the movie, he is vindicated for essentially snitching on the union people. And the movie's a great movie. I remember watching it and, enjoying it enough before I realized any of this bullshit about Elia Kazan. And then upon hearing what he did and watching this movie that takes place barely a year after he named names at the committees and having a fallout with Arthur Miller, one of the writers of this movie, it's a little more seedy.
Mm.
The movie is less a film about a man sticking up to whatever principles he thinks he has, and a movie that's meant to parallel a man in real life to explain why he did what he did to cover his own ass. In my opinion, you're probably going to get the idea of where I fall on this. But I don't care for On the Waterfront anymore. I get that it's a good movie. I get that Marlon Brando's great in it, but I don't care for the subject matter, and I don't care for the message that he sends. And I don't care for the fact that it's an excuse for a man who tries to essentially politicize his views into film. And Arthur Miller, upon breaking away from Elia Kazan, writes The Crucible, which is the exact opposite of On the Waterfront. It is the dangers of witch hunts. It's the dangers of accusing people without information. It's the dangers of coercing people into becoming informants, or people who just willingly want to become informants.
Right.
So I bring up Elia Kazan because I think he's the most clear-cut example of someone who had writing credits, who had directing credits, who had a lot of control over these movies. And as I probably very stutteringly exemplified, he used his power to make a movie that politicized the things that he did in real life. Now, I don't mean to ruin On the Waterfront from you. Again, it's a solid movie. It's fine. I watched it before I realized what Elia Kazan did. And after that, and after a couple friends kind of put the pieces together for me about that, I don't care for the movie in that sense. So, let's see. We mentioned Elia Kazan. We mentioned Arthur Miller. How about a less clear-cut one then, huh? How about Orson Scott Card? Orson Scott Card is a writer of one of the greatest science fiction films of the last science fiction novels of the last 50 years.
Okay.
Ender's Game.
Oh, okay.
Ender's Game. I am almost surprised that this is the case. Ender's Game is a novel at its core about empathy. About trying to reach an understanding with someone, about trying to put yourself in another person's shoes, right?
Right.
That's something that I think everyone should have. Everyone should try to cultivate a great, strong sense of empathy, a sense of understanding for one's neighbor, correct?
Yes.
Raging homophobe. Absolute raging homophobe. And should that matter? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. To be honest, I've always wanted to finish Ender's Game, and I've never gotten more than halfway through. But the movie received a lot of backlash because it's an Orson Scott Card adaptation. And there's the possibility that some of the homophobic rhetoric or ideology that could be baked into the book. I can't remember. I read this book when I was a kid before I had any kind of, literary critique. The movie could have unintentionally brought in some of the things that Orson Scott Card believed in. You have this guy going on Joe Rogan spewing out some of the most vile shit you could think of, getting
Mhm.
interviewed by conservative talk shows. He is perpetuating a homophobic ideology to other people. So, where's the line there? Do you not watch the movie, which is a fine movie? I've seen it. I don't hold anything past making the movie, but do you hold Harrison Ford accountable? Do you hold Asa Butterfield accountable? Do you hold Viola Davis accountable? Do you hold
Mm.
Jesus the the shithead director who did the Wolverine? Like, do you not watch this movie that 1,000 people probably made, put a lot of love and effort into, because this guy is a homophobe and perpetuates homophobic rhetoric? I mean, I might not buy his book ever again, which is a shame. I'll probably have to pirate it. Don't at
Yeah.
me, federal government. But I mean, maybe I'm more inclined to watch the movie.
Yeah.
What about Harry Potter?
Right.
If you read some of her stuff, you can see some of her short-sightedness and a bit of her ignorance, and she also cultivates an ideology. But again, I'm drifting a little bit away because I'm talking about books and then we're talking about film adaptations. But the movie, the film franchise is perfectly fine. I enjoy watching it. I don't think I'll ever read the books ever again.
Mm-hmm.
But should the entirety of the cruise, probably 1,000 or more people, or more than 1,000 people, whatever,
Yeah.
should their work go unnoticed or intentionally ignored because of the actions of one person?
Yeah. Huh.
So
Like.
that is where the concept of death of the author comes, because I again I like The Usual Suspects. It's a great movie. But the
Mm-hmm.
fact that Bryan Singer is a fucking monster and Kevin Spacey is probably 2 times as one doesn't bode all that great for me. And I'll
Right.
watch it, but I don't watch it to support these people. I don't
Right.
watch it, and when someone says, I don't feel comfortable watching it because these guys are kind of awful, I don't say, you know what? Fuck you. I don't say shit like that. I understand. I don't hold it
Right.
past another person to not want to watch it.
Like.
And now I'm
I.
trying to think of another instance, another film, another piece of work
Here, I got one.
where
I got one.
okay,
I
or
really.
music, sorry.
That's where I'm going. I'm going away from the film industry into the music industry. Obviously, we know that my preferred genre of music is metal. For the
Well, we
longest
know
time,
now.
oh, we know now. Um, and for the longest time, my favorite band was Pantera.
Mhm.
And Pantera has made amazing music. Um, but the vocalist, Phil Anselmo, um, has said some pretty racist things in the past, and I'm sure he's not really apologized, maybe, and other stuff. But um, and just seeing from interviews and stuff like that, just seems like an asshole, right?
Mhm.
Like, I definitely wouldn't hang out with him. But the rest of the band's cool. Dimebag Darrell. Um,
Yeah.
he was the guitarist of the band, and he's very popular and stuff like that. And they would throw up the Confederate flag, like that was their thing, right? They're from Texas, and, Confederate flag. Um, but I never stopped listening to them, not because of the band members, but because of the music they wrote. The music they
Mhm.
wrote is really good, right? Like, I can't like like I could understand if people were to stop listening to it because they're like, oh, Phil's a racist and I don't want to listen to that. Like, yeah, it's fine. Like, and I would understand if there was like racist like lyrics in the music, right? Like I would get it, but it's not. It's just metal music,
Well, see,
normal metal lyric.
that's the question.
Mhm.
Can you look at these people and actually critically look at the music or the lyrics or the circumstances around their
Mhm.
performances and disentangle that? Because it's not just about like they're assholes, but I like them. That's fine.
Mhm.
But when you think about it or when you're looking, can you see anything that rubs you the wrong way within their works? And to be fair, I'm probably applying a bit of a square hole round peg kind of instance, right? Where maybe it doesn't quite work the same way for film or literature.
Mm.
Because as you're saying, Pantera, you said?
Yeah, Pantera.
Pantera is a band. Pantera is a band of multiple people. But
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sure they have had to have reached a consensus to put up the rebel flag.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
I mean, yeah. Um and again, like, I'm not throwing up the rebel flag. Like, the thing is, I don't listen to the music of Pantera for the band members. Like,
Hmm.
like I don't care that Dime was like considered one of the greatest heavy metal guitarists, uh that's lived, and all this other stuff. Like, to me, I'm just like, I liked the music. The music was really good. I'm going to keep
Hmm.
listening to the music. I can care less about the people who made it. I'm appreciating what they made. It's like, it's funny because I was listening to someone talk about it where, like, once a band has, was it us that were talking about? Once a band makes the music, like, the music's no longer
Yeah.
part of, uh um like, it's no longer just theirs, it's everyone's, right? Like, it's like,
Yeah, we were discussing it where it's
yeah.
like the idea is too is that like when you're casually reading it, I think less on like a that's probably too vague a statement, but like fandom is a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
Anne Rice is a fucking perfect example. Anne Rice fucking hates the fandom that she spawned from the vampire series, the Vampire
Mm-hmm.
Chronicles or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
She fucking hates it. It's a story about like religious disenchantment, or not real disenchantment, but like estrangement from one's religion and like how
Mm.
that's bad. But everyone loves how fucking inadvertently gay these characters are. And everyone fucking makes it about all of them being so goddamn gay. I love it. And she hates it. It's about like religious fucking fulfillment, or not religious fulfillment. But you get the fucking
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, yeah.
So, does that mean that all of these fans, all of these people are wrong because they like interpreting the book in this way with a lot of like gay subtext, with a lot of homoerotic subtext? Or is the fact that it's out there for people to enjoy and they're free to enjoy
Mm-hmm.
it any fucking way they please?
Yeah.
I love Dune. I
Yeah.
fucking love it. I interpret it as the consequences of giving a fucking 15-year-old godlike powers. I'm sure Frank Herbert intended it that way.
Yeah.
Absolutely fucking intended it that way. But like, say some other dude or dudette comes by and like, no, I fucking interpret it a different way. We can have a spat for years. God knows I fucking have a spat with someone every so often about the fucking Last Jedi. But at the
Uh-huh.
end of the day, like, you can ask the director, you can ask this filmmaker, you can ask this actor or this musician, like, what does this mean? And to be honest, if the answer doesn't fucking like fulfill you, you're more inclined to believe whatever the fuck you want about it, to
Yeah.
ingest it however you want, to enjoy it however you want. which kind of flies a bit in the face well, not flies in the face of Death of the Author, but it's a component of Death of the Author where it's like, enjoy it however you want. If you want to read Orson Scott Card, fucking great. Like,
Mhm.
and you don't even have to fucking read into any subtext that any fucking filmmaker is doing or writer's doing, or the music, or the film itself. But sometimes that is there.
Yeah.
Sometimes your artists do leave breadcrumbs of who they are in the book, and it's up to you to decide, am I willing to essentially put money into endorsing who this person is? Because there's nothing wrong with enjoying Harry Potter. There's nothing wrong with enjoying whatever it is you're reading, watching, dying. But I think at the end of the day, it's more about like the social acceptance you give that person and the economic assistance you give that person when you're buying their product.
Mm.
Because it's like, I bet like I've never bought a fucking CD in my life. They're either gifts or they've fucking fallen from the sky. True story, by the way. I found a fucking CD of Hillary Duff just fucking fall in the middle of nowhere on my way home from fucking middle school. True fucking story. Signed. Besides the fucking point. Besides the fucking
Yeah.
point. Where am I going with this? But I probably will never buy a Pantera CD. I don't feel like
Yeah.
personally, like just from the sound of that, I don't really feel like putting my money to that. Like if
Right.
they were like, hey, you know, we did it ironically, I'd be like, all right, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but like, whatever. Maybe I'll buy your
Right.
fucking CD. But like, if they're like, yeah, no, the fucking the South was totally fighting a war justly, and this was a war of northern aggression, and we fought all over taxes and independence, I'd be like, you are definitely never getting my money ever.
Yeah.
And I would be like, huh, now that you put it that way, I'm fairly certain I could read something into your work.
Mm.
Because if you're going to put the fucking flag up while you're playing, then there's got to be some kind of correlation. In my opinion, I could be wrong, again, inferred reasoning, but like that's how my mind is working on this instance.
Right.
Like that's what happened when I heard about fucking Elia Kazan, because I fucking rewatched the shit out of On the Waterfront. I'm like, holy fucking shit. This movie felt like it was a dude about like preserving his honor and his dignity and his honesty. And from the filmmaker's perspective, it is. But the idea that it's being played against like union reps and the guy is portrayed as overly heroic and all of the fucking union guys are smarmy, spineless fucking assholes. Yeah, there are a couple signals that this guy is like obviously creating a one-sided issue where
Yeah.
like the informant's the really good guy, and of course unions are terrible. They're sided with the mob, and everyone who's in there is just a spineless weasel. Like that's sending some red flags. And speaking of, there's another fucking movie coming out, and this is easy. Let me point out, by the way, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think music is the hardest fucking one to address here. Books, it's fine.
Mm.
Don't buy the fucking book because the person wrote the book and
Right.
they're, having it distributed by a company. For the movie, that's up to you, in my opinion. There are thousands of people involved with movies. If you are really dead set on it, I don't mind. I really don't care. I just want to know the logic behind it, and we can argue about it later.
Yeah.
For music, I don't know.
Yeah, music seems a little more
Because
difficult.
it's almost like a confederation of artists coming together. And it's like, well, do you want to be angry at these people for making the music? Do you want to be angry at like the company for producing and reselling the music or putting up with it? Do you want to be angry at a specific artist for being complicit in letting this happen? Letting like one member of the band do this? Do you want to be angry at all of them for intentionally doing this. Like what is it? God damn it.
Remember, Mark, innocent until proven guilty.
Fuck Ilya Kazan.
But no, I that's really good strong points. When it comes to to that tweet, like to me personally, yeah, I think it's just up to the person. I mean, you know, especially film, right? Especially film where
Mhm.
it's like there are a lot of people who are involved in like so the follow up tweet to this one from the same person, they go by saying Weinstein was way more involved in getting films made than a single actor or actress is. Are we boycotting his library as well? Are you telling me I can't watch the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy
Yeah.
once a year
Yep.
anymore? So it's like I understand that standpoint where it's like, there unfortunately there are disgusting people out there in the world. It they're everywhere, unfortunately, and it kind of sucks that like they're ruining things for the rest of us, right? Or for
Yeah.
people who do like Lord of the Rings is a great fucking that Lord of the Rings is my favorite. We said discussed before my favorite movies, right? I watch those also at least once a year,
Yeah.
if not, so it's like,
And I
you know,
think about them at least once a year.
I think about them way more than once a year. I quote them way more than once a year. Um, but it's a great example because it's like, that movie's great. Those three movies are fucking amazing. Like,
Hmm.
because of Weinstein, are you just gonna never watch those films again? Are you never gonna talk
And
about them? Are you never?
yeah, and there's another bend to this too, by the way.
Uh huh.
Take for instance, I've been bitching and moaning about fucking George R. R. Martin. George R. R.
Mm-hmm.
Martin, in one of his acceptance speeches for one of his fucking I'm a Good Writer awards,
Yeah.
was like, hey, I want to dedicate some of this to fucking H.P. Lovecraft. And understandably, people got pissed off. People got pissed off because H.P. Lovecraft is a racist, a homophobe,
Mm-hmm.
and an anti-Semite, probably closeted homosexual from the way he's written about, and dealing with a lot of mental issues.
Yeah.
So, what's the difference there? Because I've heard a really good argument that, you know what? It doesn't fucking matter necessarily if that person is fucking dead and not perpetuating uh, the shit that they would say. So like,
Yeah.
all I have to do is just wait till Orson Scott Card is Orson Scott dead, and I'll read all the fucking Ender's Game I want. Because the idea is that they are, I don't want to say relics, but the contributions that they are making to the world are primarily their works. I don't think
Right.
I've ever seen a racist on this fucking planet say, well, H.P. Lovecraft compared skull sizes, so race science must be true. I'm not devaluing the fact that he was all of those things in his time,
Yeah.
but I do think there could be a difference between someone like H.P. Lovecraft or J.K. Rowling, who
Yeah.
continues to spout the shit that she says on Twitter with millions of followers who now parrot what she says.
Mm-hmm.
And same with Ilya Kazan. Like, as entertainment, I don't like On the Riverfront, or I mean, On the Waterfront. I enjoy it as like a piece of posterity in history.
Yeah.
And what about academic? Like we were just talking about. What about Mein
Mm.
Kampf?
Yeah.
Should Mein Kampf not be read at all?
I
What
think
about the
that's
Turner Diaries? The Turner Diaries
yeah.
is probably one of the most racist fucking books ever written. And there are a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
I think the guy who wrote it's dead. I hope he is, and I don't hope that often. But let's go back to Mein Kampf because I think it's more clear cut.
Yeah.
Of course, there's an instance of wanting to read on an academic basis, like okay, here's a related thing on what the climate of Germany was like in the 20s and 30s, and so on and so forth. So you could read it for that reason.
Yeah.
And it depends on how you're consuming it. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like,
Right.
of course, if you want to read fucking J.K. Rowling to perpetuate her billion-dollar anti-trans bullshit, then fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
If you only enjoy fucking Seven because Kevin Spacey's in it, or not just because he's in it, but like something Kevin Spacey related, like, oh man, it's his best thing, and I just can't get over the fact that like all these alleged things happen. Then like fuck you too. Or if you want to read Mein Kampf because you're a fucking skinhead, then fuck you too. But like depending on how you want to ingest this media, I think can matter, but you can't gauge that. Like I can say, man, I really want to watch fucking hear Pantera because I fucking love that wah 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 part in the third quarter of the fifth song in the album. But like, how do you know that's the case and not like, yeah, as a fellow Confederate whatever, I also empathize with the wah 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 at the third quarter of the fifth song in the album.
Yeah.
So and finally, and I'll shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey is going to be in another fucking movie, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
A foreign picture where he plays an investigator investigating a fucking sexual assault crime. As if the fucking world was not satirical enough at this fucking moment. Yeah. And guess what? I'm not going to fucking see that movie because that's an obvious fucking, oh, I can work with whoever I want instance, and I want to work with him. I don't care. That's another thing. Listen, I don't care about the allegations. I don't care. His talent supersedes what he did to those people. I don't care. That's one thing. Another, I want him because I'm more concerned with having him in my movie than the things that he did to these people. Yeah. That's where the issue comes. I am more concerned with seeing this and defending this person, or reading this and defending this person, than discussing what this person did. I think Kevin Spacey is a great example. I don't watch... Yeah, Seven has a great performance by Kevin Spacey, but you know what? Now that I fucking realize it, he's a dirt bag. He is a sleazy fucking dirt bag. That doesn't change the fact that he's a solid actor too, but he's a dirt fucking bag, and I'm not going to ignore the fact that he's done some really fucking awful shit just so I can enjoy a movie. But guess what? I can still enjoy Seven. Yeah. Sorry. Rant over. Okay?
No,
Disengaged.
No, it's good. You made good points, man. I can get behind it. It's a good topic. And I'm pretty sure it's something that people have talked about before and whatnot. And I think especially this time that we're living in, right? That this is going to become this is not like the first time someone's going to tweet about it, and it's not going to be the last time, right? Like it's going to be brought up a lot. And it's good to how do I say, like, I guess just knowing who's in it, right? So you can kind of make your decision off that. Yeah, like you see someone like, man, that guy's a fucking asshole. I don't think I want to, like
yeah, like it's like Zack Schneider, okay? Like you're thinking to yourself, oh, 300, it's really fucking cool. It's about the Greeks. And then like you take into context historical events, things that were happening close to 2006. The fact that he's a fucking Randian libertarian. and the fact that he's kind of fine with like demonizing like Islamic people, not Islamic
Yeah.
people, but like Middle Eastern people.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's a one-off. But then like then it's the treatment of women that he pulls off terribly in Sucker Punch, and I'm like, okay, well that's a one-off. And then it's like, how many times do you realize like his filmmaking is kind of like awful to women, and it kind of like dehumanizes in others ethnic groups and shit like that, and it's very like
Right.
me. Like, if you like, we were talking about fucking Army of the Dead, and I
Yeah.
can enjoy that movie, but I don't enjoy it like just completely blindly. Like I'm still looking for like, okay, here's the bullshit that Zack Snyder usually puts in his movies.
Yeah. That's true.
Fuck.
Fuck. All right, let's go to something that we're probably not going to be upset about.
My blood's pumping.
Yeah, it is. Let's cool it down, or let's keep it pumping. Let's keep it pumping. And let's get down and dirty with some Loki. So
Mobius.
I know, right? Okay, so
Spoiler alert.
yeah, I'm just gonna put it out there. Is it's just it keeps on going, right? It's like I'm keep on keeping on, man. This show, it hasn't stopped yet, and I'm fucking stoked. I'm fucking stoked on what's happening. I'm like confused. I'm aroused, and I'm also like,
Oh god, are you a fucking Loki, you narcissist?
but but like I'm confused, and I want to know more. Like, I love that this
Yeah.
entire series. Like, okay, so I'll just say the stuff that we talked about last week. I was definitely wrong, right? He didn't have a way out. He didn't. Um, he wasn't hiding shit or anything. He was literally on his last limb, right? He was just like,
Yeah.
and obviously they got away. Spoiler alert and shit like that. The whole them slowly finding out that the TVA was lying to them was fucking crazy, dude. Like, when you heard it in last week's episode, you're like, whoa, like, that's crazy. But, like, obviously they really emphasized it this episode, and you're like, holy shit, that's fucking crazy. Right? And then, obviously, at the end, when you find out that the three dudes are robots, and you're like, what?
Inception.
Yeah, and then to even top it off even more, Loki gets fucking pruned, but ends up somewhere with more Lokis.
I love it. I fucking love the comic accurate one, the dopey ass outfit with the horns.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Dude, this episode was good. I loved it. I'm ready for the next episode. I love that they're just continue to. The one thing that is bumming me out is they're like, if Loki got pruned, right, and they didn't have that after credit scene, I actually would have been pretty excited to know that that's it, dude. That's Loki.
Yeah, I was very visibly pleased with Loki just fucking dying.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as he just like disintegrated, I was like, fuck yeah. Like, something meaningful. Like, God, he's finally fucking dead. And we don't have to fucking worry about Tom Hiddleston anymore. Jesus. And then I was just chit-chatting with my fucking girlfriend. Didn't even know there was an after credit scene. And then he's alive. Don't get me wrong, exciting. I want to see where it goes. But
Yeah.
I think I would have really liked the idea of the series being finished off by Sylvie.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what I was kind of excited for too. I think the group that I was watching it with was kind of expecting that too. Like, all right, we're gonna get people attracted to the show by bringing Tom, but having the show end with Sylvie being the main character. Like that would be a great way. That would have been a great way to, and the thing is, it still can be, right. Loki can also be like, let's say they're in a certain timeline that's like, that's it. Like you're going nowhere. You're stuck here, and that's why there's so many
You're
Lokis and
going
blah blah.
nowhere.
Go nowhere. I got you for the rest of time. Um,
I got you for infinity. Infinity.
so it's like, there's still that possibility, right? There's still a possibility of him, you know, not surviving or whatever. So yeah, I think it would have been really cool if they, if Tom or Loki just disintegrated and that was it. I think that would have been really dope. But they've been doing a great job, so far. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let them do their thing, and I'll you know.
So I'm gonna poorly, and I cannot stress poorly, go over the synopsis of the story. Spoilers.
All of them.
So it picks up the fourth episode of the series picks up right where the third one leaves off. Sylvie is resigned to her fate. Loki goes there to have a quiet moment with her near the end, and they both have a moment of empathy. They can both connect. And I don't know if that was like an actual like relationship thing or it was just the idea of them not feeling alone. But that event causes a temporal divergence or whatever the fucking terminology is in this show. But essentially, they
I think they just fall for, or at least Loki, Tom's character, is like basically like getting emotions.
discovers what masturbation is basically.
Basically that.
No
Yeah.
wonder he's so angry. But so upon Mobius and Loki figuring out how to track Sylvie, they're more attuned to where to look, and they find this this divergence that comes from this emotional bond that the two have formed. They are separated. They are taken into custody. Mobius is attempting to investigate C20, the guard warrior person from the previous episode, whose mind was interrogated, and realizes that God, what's her name? Ravana,
Yeah.
whatever. That the TVA killed her because she gets fragments of her memories back and has been questioning what the TVA has been doing. C15 or B15, the hard ass in the beginning of the series, whose mind was invaded by Sylvie, gets some of her memory back and is kind of doing a bit of investigating herself. Partners up with Sylvie for some shenanigans. We'll get to that in a moment. Upon being separated, Loki's put in the relive the oddly specific worst day of your life machine, where we get a really cool fucking cameo.
It's so good.
From Sif.
Yeah.
From God, what the fuck is her name? I always forget it. I am so sorry to the actress who's probably definitely listening right now. Please forgive me. Alexandra something. Essentially the actress who plays Sif, who was missing sadly in Thor Ragnarok, but will be in Thor Love and Thunder.
Ooh.
Yeah, so she kicks him in the balls for cutting his hair and calls him bad names essentially 1,000,000 times until he cracks. Mobius, who is pretty heartbroken from the
Backstab.
assumed betrayal interrogates him, and in that point, we learn, or he learns from Loki that he's a variant. He goes to Renslayer's office, switches pads with her, investigates, and finds out that C20 has been assassinated, and questions everything. B15, as I said, doing her own little investigation, frees Sylvie, has a little communication with her, relives a couple of her memories, and has now drank the Kool-Aid.
She was happy.
In the good way. Yeah. We don't see the memory, but Sylvie gives B15, or like triggers one of her memories, and the only thing we hear her or see her say is, "I looked happy," and that's enough. So the two of them have partnered with, so they've partnered with the respective Lokis. Owen Wilson's Mobius takes Loki out of the oddly specific torture and insult room to essentially just get fucking killed. Renslayer and a small detachment are waiting for them. And the first thing he kind of says is, oh god, I can't remember what he says. He essentially asks, like, why did you take me? Or where did you take me from? I bet it was on a jet ski. And as he says that, he gets pruned, which is kind of fucking heartbreaking. So we don't quite find out what happens to B15 yet, but the two of them, Sylvie and Loki, are being taken by Renslayer to the Timekeepers, who are these three super CGI lizard-looking fuckers that basically just chastise them for a good moment while they're going to get executed until B15 comes and frees them. We don't quite get an idea of what happens to her at the end of the episode. She looks like she's kind of beaten the fuck out of for like a moment, but we don't fully know. We find out that the whatchamahoosums, the Timekeepers, are robots, which means that the real Timekeepers, or Timekeeper, or Kang the Conqueror, is out there somewhere.
Yep.
And Loki tries to trigger the event again. This empathy explosion, you would call it. Or at least I'm calling it that. And right as he's about to do it, Renslayer impales him with a pruning shear, and Sylvie defeats her, and it cuts from there. The credits roll, and we wake up with Loki in an alternate universe, or a timeline. Looks somewhere like New York. If you pause it and you look, you can see Avengers Tower in the background, or my theory is that it's Stark Tower from Avengers, so the atomic bomb didn't go off in the wormhole. It went off in New York. But I digress. The more important thing is there's a boy Loki, a big Hulk and black Loki with a rebar hammer, which is fucking awesome. The boy is holding an alligator Loki, and then last but not least, my fucking favorite Loki is comic book accurate, goofy as fuck on film Loki. Like, I'm talking thread, random fucking, oh god, it's so good. I don't even give a shit. That shit is funny as fuck. Yeah. Harry, what did you think of the episode?
Oh, like I said before, I fucking loved it. I did not even see that of the Stark Tower. I didn't even put two and two together. Right. Like, I saw buildings in the background, I just didn't know what exactly what. So
I didn't even care. That's the thing. I wanted to see Richard E. Grant goofy as fuck comic book accurate on TV outfit, and I fucking saw that.
Like,
but yeah,
now that you mention it, I wonder when people get pruned, they get sent to alternate timelines.
It's the garbage dimension.
Yeah, basically. Like,
God, that'd be
like
so good.
basically timelines where like exist like what am I trying to say?
No, I get you. It's like the what's that Jet Li movie where there's that one evil Jet Li and he's going from
Oh yeah,
dimension to
the one.
dimension. Yeah, there you go. And at the end of it, they put him in the prison dimension where he's just fucking fighting all of the different versions of people that no one wants.
Yeah. So
It's like
I
that, just
yep.
unintentional.
Yeah. So I'm thinking it's just a dimension where like civilizations have just been gone. Like if Thanos won and then like he like Endgame never happened, right? Those type of
Yeah.
timelines. I think that's what that timeline is. Like not
Mm-hmm.
the real timeline, it's just some other different like I think those timelines still exist. It's just they're just floating in limbo in a way.
Yeah.
Where like
Okay.
the timeline that they're keeping right now is like a special timeline that they don't want it to divert in any way, right?
Right. It's like the best case scenario timeline.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly that. And they just prune people and they get sent to other different timelines. But that doesn't
They get
mean
sent to the garbage dimension. Yeah.
Mhm. So it doesn't mean that the sacred timeline, is that what it's called? The sacred timeline is the only timeline. That it does not mean that it is the only one. It just means it is the one that is that it's forced to stay on track. Where there are all these
Mm-hmm.
other timelines that are happening that, you know, doesn't want to get involved with the sacred timeline, which is pretty interesting. I don't know how to feel about it just yet. I need to see more if that's true or not. And obviously we need to see with the fucking Doctor Strange movie and see what all that is about because
Yeah.
multiverse, right?
It's
So,
yeah. So the way I see it is there are a lot of fucking plot holes. Um my interpretation is the reason fucking the endgame shenanigans were able to happen
mm,
is because at that time the TVA doesn't exist. The TVA is
oh,
operating on like a completely separate timeline or like frame of time as Owen Wilson's dead Mobius said.
mm,
So like consider that like while the events of Loki consider this that while Loki is going on, Endgame, Iron Man 1, fucking Cleopatra, all this shit is happening technically at the same time.
oh,
And there's a point, as Owen Wilson said, where the timekeepers are kind of like unraveling a bit of the future or
mm-hmm.
laying the path for the future that the timekeepers or the TVA itself is trying to fix. But that's still full of a lot of holes because it's like Loki sees his future. So how far into the future like do they have?
Right,
Or is that even a logical like avenue?
makes sense.
So yeah, that's my thing. Like they're only able to do the shit that they do because that universe exists free of the TVA because the TVA is already going to get fucked in the ass in Loki. Hell, this could have happened
Ah,
like 10,000 fucking years ago for all we know. But like
this is true.
because this isn't all happening like on a level. It's not like, okay, well, this is happening exactly like a couple minutes after to a couple weeks after the alternate 2012. No. 2012 Civil War, Endgame, fucking Cleopatra. I don't know why I'm mentioning Cleopatra
Yeah.
over and over, but like all this shit is happening at once and
mm,
not at all.
okay. All right.
So they can exist in the future, they can exist in the past, they can exist whenever, but it's like that's the only reason it can make sense for me is that the timeline where Endgame happens is unobstructed by the TVA.
Fair enough.
Because he's looking at all the different timelines, he's looking at all this other different bullshit, and he's seeing the multiple realities an
Right.
instance that the TVA is directly trying to stop. And since Multiverse of Madness is going to be coming out not too far after Loki,
Yeah.
it would kind of make sense, all things
Yeah.
considered. It's going to be after Endgame, so
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting look into the situation, right? And like, I want to make speculations. I've already made my speculations, but it's like, it seems like most of my speculations don't come true. Which is fine. I
Harry,
mean, they're
you
just
just haven't
speculations.
applied yourself yet, okay?
I mean, they're just speculations, right? And I also don't want to speculate too much, just because, you know what I mean. Like, we'll see what happens, right? Like, we're not the writers of the show. We'll see what happens. I'm glad that there was a cameo. I would love more cameos.
Yeah.
It would be cool. You know, I don't think it's gonna happen, but I think it would have been cool to see Loki with Thor. You know, like if Loki does go away forever, right? I think it'd be cool. Or not Thor. It would be cool if he did like went did something with his mom, like before he like we said goodbye to the Tom
Yeah.
Loki, you know, because that's obviously something that hits him, right? Like he knows it. Like, you know, he hates the fact that he's the reason why his mom passed, right, in his timeline. Um, I think it would be cool that something like that were to happen before we say our actual final goodbyes to Tom's Loki. But again,
Yeah.
he might come back in the Doctor Strange movie. He might be back in some other movie or other shows or whatever. We don't know, right? We don't know what this thing. I just think it would be cool that this is it, right? It seemed like they really set it up where this is the last of Loki you're gonna see. At least this Loki, right? We might
Yeah.
continue having Sylvie, like you said. There might be a kid Loki coming around, but the Loki that we know of now, like his time has passed. Like, and I think the whole concept of like they brought in Tom's Loki into the series so people can watch, right?
Hmm.
It'll be weird if they did a series with Sylvie, right? Like, oh, this is Sylvie. Who's Sylvie? Like, oh, she's actually an alternate Loki. You know, like
Wouldn't that shit be so fucking funny though? Like, she just
it.
appears out of nowhere, like, who the fuck are you? I'm Loki. What? And then she's like, I'm gonna get it. Like, she's about to get into like the story, and like, you know what? We don't have fucking time. Okay, good. You're on our side. Whatever. Like, that shit would be so fucking hilarious.
Yeah, but I also like the way they did it in the show, though, right? Like you have
Yeah.
Loki, who's a variant, and he has to find another variant that's an alternate version of himself. When he's thinking that it's another male version of himself, when in reality it's actually a female version of himself.
Hmm.
And I
And
think that
keep in
was
mind, on
Mhm.
top of that, we don't know why she was pruned or why she is a variant.
Right. I mean, I think that person lied when they said like when they questioned why was I so important that you had to, you know, take me away.
Oh yeah,
He's like, "Oh,
fuck
I don't
that bitch for
remember."
that, by the way. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't remember. Fuck
Yes.
you.
Oh yeah, straight up, dude. But yeah, I'm excited. And I have my hopes up to this is like the last hurrah of Tom's Loki, and we continue on with Sylvie and whoever else, right? We apparently are going to be introduced to a few more Lokis, right? So, let's see what happens, and yeah, I'm excited. I like the episode. I'm loving the series. I'm getting ready for how many episodes we said it was 6 in total.
Two more.
Yeah, okay. So we got 2 more episodes.
Two
Um,
more.
yeah, man, it sucks, man. Like I'm really getting into these, and it's just like they end.
If there were 10, you'd hate it. You would despise it.
You're not wrong. I'd most likely not like it because there's just too much filler, right? They just get to the point,
Hmm.
you know. But I think we had the discussion where like I'm glad that this is a series and not a movie, because I feel like a movie would just be moving way too fast with all the information that's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Where a 6 episode series, I think, is really getting to the point and everything, and the cliffhangers at the end, and it's just they're doing such a fucking killer job, especially with this series right now.
Yeah.
It could be, like we said, it could be just because of Tom's acting and just his portrayal of his Loki. Could be just something that the Marvel audience needed, especially someone like me.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is what everyone kind of needed, something different than what WandaVision was, and what Falcon and Winter Soldier was, and what the past Marvel movies were. Right, like this is just a kind of fun. I think I brought it up where. Oh no, I don't think I brought it up to you, but or maybe I don't know. It's Loki is um Loki's for people who haven't seen Doctor Who. It's the Doctor Who for people who haven't seen Doctor Who. And I'm like, that's cool. Like,
Fuck you, Whovians.
yeah, and I'm kind of intrigued. Like, man, if people who watch Doctor Who are comparing this show to Doctor Who, I'm kind of intrigued to maybe check it out. I'd be way far behind, but
Yeah,
there's
you've got like a year of catching up to do
yeah.
if you
So
watch everything, all at once without sleeping.
Jesus,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
no, I'm
kidding.
okay. But yeah, so and again, I've never seen Doctor Who, but I agree that this show it's different, and I love it. I'm excited for what's to come. 2 more episodes, and that's it.
Fuck yeah.
That's the end of my rant.
That was a good rant. I liked that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You earned that, kid.
How about you? What's your thoughts? Your final thoughts.
I'm liking it. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the setting. I don't think this is the last we've seen of Mobius again. I'm
Yeah,
gonna fucking shit ass if we don't end this series with him on a jet ski.
yeah.
But
That's
but
the
yeah,
goal.
I do enjoy the series. Um, it's got a lot of quirk. It's got some decent moments, some character bits that I enjoy. Yeah, I'm overall liking it.
Sick. Um, Next topic. Just threw it in here. Left 4 Dead.
I
Mark
miss it. I love it.
finally, Mark finally, and thanks to Aved, our good friend Aved,
It turns out, yeah.
that Mark's laptop is able to play Left 4 Dead, and we played it this past Tuesday, and it will be going up on the channel soon. Um, and yeah,
I
we got
always
to
say the
play.
stupidest shit when I don't think you're recording and you're recording. And God, just why do you make me look like such a jackass?
It's just it's the entertainment. We got to get the footage.
God,
It's the
just
content. It's high quality content.
it really isn't.
We fine.
It's
We're fine.
like it's like the canned tuna.
Mm-hmm.
Just I don't want no part of that.
um,
Ain't nobody got no time for that.
but we'll be going around. We have a few games that we can play now. Especially since we'll see what other games your laptop could play that we can maybe like. I'm pretty sure you won't be able to do the higher end stuff, but
This
you know,
opens shit up.
yep. We'll find out what happens. If not, we'll have to invest into a new laptop so we can play all the high quality games.
You have no idea, folks. They I
Tell them.
finally got a job. I get a job where I'm making fucking normal people money, normal people hours, and now I can't afford the shit that I want. Can't afford anything. And these fuckers are like, oh, well, we'll just buy it for you. And I'm like,
We just want to play with a friend.
You're not gonna get me to admit that I want a fucking laptop, basically a fucking free ass laptop
Yeah,
on stream or
yeah.
on podcast. You're not gonna get me. No,
Audience, listeners,
no.
put it on the comments below. Basically, just Evan and Demetrius. Put it in the comments below. Tell Mark to accept this semi-free laptop
I don't have
so
an
we can play.
address. I'm homeless. I'm
Well,
houseless.
see, that's why Yvette's just gonna mail it to me, and I'm just gonna walk over to your house.
Well,
and
you will
I'm sorry.
never be able to find
I'm
me.
gonna. I'm
I
gonna
will
walk
pull
over
out
to
my
your
own
not
teeth,
house.
and I will fucking yank off my fingers so that you cannot find me to give me a
Can you
fucking.
just,
I
like,
don't know where I'm going with
I
this.
was like, can you just burn your fingertips?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Men in Black.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll do a Men in Black.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, but it was good. Left 4 Dead was a lot of fun. We haven't played it,
Oh yeah.
especially together in a while.
I don't think we've ever played it together.
We have on the 360. Either LAN and or same
See.
screen.
Yeah.
Um,
I think because we were doing
Been
a
a
bit of
while,
like a speed run thing. I really want to
Mhm.
try doing a speed run for the entire like all 4 or 5 maybe just the
Maps.
4 classics, but I really want to like take our time and just enjoy it as best we can.
Yeah.
Cause that shit is just I don't know. I know the visuals are kind of bland or the aesthetics kind of bland, but I just like that it's not doing extra, you
Yeah.
know?
Well,
Like
that's
visually.
that's why I prefer the first one over the second one. The second one, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, it can be fun, but I think it's just they added too many things. Where I love the first one because it's like I said, it's bland, it's basic, it's like very few things, very few mechanics. Go for it, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's why I love it. It's really good. It's a lot of fun. It's a game. It reminds me of Warzone in the sense of like I could just turn on the game, play, and I don't have to like grind for things. I don't have to prepare for things. It's just going in and playing a game. And every playthrough is semi different, right? It's not always the same. Tanks are not
Yeah.
always going to be the same. Boomers are going to pop up randomly. Like,
And just the environments. It's
yeah.
not just the enemy placement or the randomization of the enemy placement. It's like it's just enjoyable. Like I fucking love all of those maps. They're just so like cozy.
Yeah. I second that. But we'll definitely be doing probably more playthroughs. When you do get your laptop, though, we will be hopping into a game. I don't know what game yet, but a game, and it's gonna be something that we'll be
Fun.
playing multiple times a week.
Mhm.
It's gonna be a more
Oh, yeah.
grindier game. I'm not gonna
I don't
lie.
need fucking grindy, you motherfucker.
No.
I just need fun.
Just hear me out. It'll be fun. And look, think of like in Call of Duty how you kind of have to level up some guns to like appreciate like playing different play styles or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So like I was thinking of games like Destiny 2, or
I wouldn't mind.
the other one that I like is Warframe. I haven't played it in probably couple years. But I like it
I've
because
never played it. Fuck you.
I like it because it reminds me of something like Destiny 2 where you can play for like a few months, but and then once you reach that like end game, you're kind of like, all right, I kind of reached where I wanted to be. There's not really much I can do. Like if I really wanted to, I can like like go for this like ultra like rare thing, whatever. But you don't have to, right? And then you can move on to another game, right? So we can go from like Warframe to Destiny 2 to a completely different game and just kind of like play out those games for like for a bit, like a couple months, and then move on to the next game, and just like I for sure I mean it's already July, dude. Fucking Back 4 Blood's
July into
around the
me?
corner. Son of a
Yeah.
bitch. But yeah, Back for Blood is around the corner, dude. It's in October. That's 3 months from now.
I
So,
know.
dude, it like I know it has crossplay and shit, but dude, if we can, that laptop, dude, will be fucking be playing the shit out of it. And then you know what we could do? I record my thingy, right? My whatever my perspective. You record your perspective, slap it together, upload it to the channel.
Ooh, I like that.
Right? Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
like
You
that a
hear me?
lot.
Yeah. I'm digging it. I love
Yeah.
it. Just throwing ideas out there, you know? And again,
This
we
is
can
good.
be yeah. And the thing is like if we have multiple if we're playing multiple times a week, right? Let's say 2-3 times a week, depends, right? And the game will be more fluid because we're not
Hmm.
playing it once a week like Ark we were, or at least I was, right? Kind of felt kind of bad because it's like I come the next Tuesday and you guys are like, "Oh, dude, we fucking built this giant castle and did this and that." And I'm like, "Oh,
Hold
I
on.
wasn't here."
That was all fucking Ed. If Ed was just like, all right, see you in like 50 minutes. Good night. I built a civilization.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Behold.
But you know what I mean? Like if we can invest more time in a game throughout the week, I think that would be better. Um
Yeah.
I to me Warframe and Destiny 2 are good examples of that cuz once you reach a certain point like you don't really need to keep going because you can do the higher end stuff. Like maybe not like the super high end stuff, but you can do the higher end stuff and be perfectly
Hmm.
fine, right?
Oh, yeah.
But and then we can just move on to the next game, whatever that game is, right? I mean, we can do Divinity, right? We can do a playthrough of Divinity 2, you know.
Right.
So like these are the ideas that are coming to my mind, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I'm just all about that shit. You know what else? Remember the shit that I brought up last week? I'm gonna invest into a fucking digital recorder mic, a portable one, and then I'm gonna get a
Hmm.
stand for my little fucking camera. I'm gonna fucking find people to interview. It's going down, man.
Ooh.
It's going down.
Yeah.
I'm like just it's going, you know, like the ideas are churning, just I just got to start doing it, you know. Just
Hmm.
got and
Hmm.
it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I'm telling you,
Put your finger on the pulse of civilization.
it's right there. I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. I can feel it. Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah.
You're going to be the next Walter Cronkite.
I don't know who that is, but thank you.
You're welcome. I could see
uh
it. I could see it already.
um fucking midnight, man. Ready to call it?
Sure, yeah. We could talk about some other stuff, some of the stuff we had on the agenda next week.
What else do we had?
Fucking
Do we have
exhausted
anything
because you
else?
talked about jury bullshit.
Yeah, this is true. That's my fault. We'll save it for next week.
I'm only teasing. You're good, bud. The law was fun.
Yes, it was.
All right, do you want me to do the outro or are you doing it?
All right, no, you're doing it. Please?
Okay. All right, folks. If you want to hit us up, you can hit us up. All right. If you want to hit us up, you can hit us up on our fucking email. Okay. hittingthemark2020@gmail.com. Do it. Do it. Or you can watch us on YouTube, Hitting the Mark 2020. No, Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark. Or just Hitting the Mark. I don't fucking know. I can't remember. And you want to tell us how off we are and tell us to clean your balls, you can hit us up on Twitter. Be like capital H, capital T, capital M underscore podcast. HTM underscore podcast. How was that, Harry? Did that satiate you?
Yes, it did.
Good. Good. I'm happy. I'm really happy that it satiated you.
Mm.
Really fucking happy. We love you, folks. Every day, I just like, what do I say to these people? And Harry's just like my muse. Even if I don't know what to say, I say it. Thank you, Harry.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And on that note, y'all can go fuck yourselves because we're going to sleep.
Bye-bye.
Auf Wiedersehen, assholes.